Hello everyone, it's Q&A time. Thank you for sending in your questions. Yeah, some of them were really good, actually, very thought-provoking, to the extent that I had to even prepare my answers in advance. So yeah, great stuff, and thank you for your questions. Shall we start off with the first one? The first one being favorite footballer of all time, and that has to be Zinedine Zidane. Has to be. I think the guy is an absolute magician when he's on the ball. Mesmerizing, dazzling talent. Honestly, I've never seen anyone like him. So silky smooth, and I think he got better with age. I think his Juventus days were his best days, where he led to, where he kind of cemented Juventus in Italian kind of glory and folklore as the best team, statistically speaking, with their kind of serial wins and unprecedented successes. You have to say that they are the best team of all time, especially in the 90s. I mean, dominant. Having going through such a barren spell in the 80s, it was quite incredible to see. Yeah, in the 80s, yes, you could say, yeah. At the end of Trapattoni's season and before Trapattoni. So from the late 60s and late 80s, mid to late 80s, Juventus were nowhere to be seen. They came really to the fore in the 70s, and then obviously in the 1990s they really cemented it. They kind of nailed that to the coffin, if you like. And Zidane was a huge factor. I mean, he played as in a 4-4-2, he played as in a 4-3-3, sorry, he played as the main centre attacking midfielder, the number 10 role, if you like. But you know, where obviously the stereotypes of Zidane and of a standard CAM is obviously playmaker, provides nice incisive passes, skills, you know, there for the cameras, really, kind of makes the football match entertaining and, you know, exquisite and etc. and sublime, and beautiful touch and beautiful goals and, you know, whatever, such depth and innovative touches and movement and pass and go and whatever. But actually, he was actually the main focal point for the counter-attack, actually, in Juventus, especially in corners, in breaks, where he was in free kicks and set pieces, in goal kicks, where he was always pushed, pushed the kind of, he was dropped in a lot deeper, was to feed the ball. And because of his runs and his amazing runs and his movement, he was able to beat players, so many players on the way, en route. It allowed the likes of freed Del Piero, it freed Ravanelli, it freed Edgar Davids, it freed so many players that that by the time the ball came to them, it was just really, an open target for them, or just one-on-one with the keeper, which 9 times out of 10 they would, put in and would succeed. So Zinedine Zidane was absolutely balletic. I'll describe him like a ballet, honestly, on the ball. So smooth, such beautiful, graceful, elegant social graces, I must say. I've never seen anyone like him, obviously, in my lifetime. I mean, effortless. The Federer of football, if you like, is Zinedine Zidane. So his Juventus days were, if you like, his Juventus diaries were his best days, I think. I think when he came into Madrid, obviously an established talent that came on the back of a World Cup, Euro win. Didn't really do much, I must say. I mean, he was sidelined quite a lot because of equally as big, or maybe some would say not as big talents like Figo, Beckham, Ronaldo, where he had to share the spotlight with. So, the irony is, actually, he was known for his kind of big moments, like the Gareth, perhaps this is quite a stretch and quite an ironic incident, but he was like Gareth Bale, really turned up for the big games, scored beautiful goals, the bicycle, the volley against Bayer Leverkusen, which is what has kind of cemented his status in the club. But he didn't really do much in the league, I must say. Didn't score a lot of goals, didn't do a lot of assists. He was just there as a, to slow down the tempo, provide an alternative way of playing. Regulated the play and the intensity, and was not ball carrying. I wouldn't say it's ball carrying, but he was feeding a lot. He was like a playmaker, not deep but quite high. But and he just provided passes and support, and came in there for late, for second balls in the box or late runs. Didn't really do much. Didn't have that burst of pace or that burst of dribbling abilities like he had at the Juventus days, where he would just be cutting and shredding and ripping apart and twisting and turning defenses and line and midfield lines. So he was an exceptional player. An exceptional player, and I don't think I've seen anyone like him. I think his Juventus days, as I said, is his best days, and I think that was then topped up, augmented and supplemented and reinforced and re-established by his France days, I must say. I mean, the World Cup, basically, he was the main player. He was their main player. Yes, you had the likes of Djorkaeff and Vieira and Petit and the kind of burgeoning talent of Thierry Henry and Lilian Thuram and Laurent Blanc and Barthez, the kind of spine. But he was their main focal player, because that side was a rigid 4-4-2 team that really didn't have anything to them except apart from discipline and solidity. So he was their creative outlet, and he honestly carried the team all the way to the end, I must say, and where he really shone was in the final with his goals. So yeah, I must say. And one of them was a header, which is very uncharacteristic of him, which perhaps would be a foreshadowing into his darker days on his final day against Italy. But again, Italy, speaking of which, took them to the final. Basically, he was their main player. Again, another 4-4-2 rigid system under Raymond Domenech, and he was their main player. Although Henry was quite, and Pires were quite, talented themselves and were able to take the game on the scruff of their neck, and were very, were also viable candidates to take charge of the game. Really, it wasn't just the Zidane show, if you like. There were more talented. There were also other talented players with him, other talented contemporaries with him. It was not just Zidane 100%, commanding and conquering and controlling. There were other players, but he was still the main protagonist, if you like. And I think Zidane is honestly, that World Cup, the Panenka penalty, very cheeky. Was it on? Was it over? Was it over the line? No, obviously it was, but still the Italians to this day debate, yeah, it wasn't over the line. No. It was the ball wasn't completely over and etc. But it was a goal, and it was a beautiful goal, obviously, unfortunately. And then the header, obviously, which was saved by the Buffon, which was perhaps one of the best saves in recent World Cup history. A pinpoint header with a beautiful reflex save, in which his body just twists like a leaf in a whirlwind. It just completely swiveled, and he just landed flat on his back. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful piece of goalkeeping, I must say. It was a beautiful save. Yes, it was at him, but the way he managed to get a strong hand at it, 3-4 yards away, the header, bullet header, and he managed to the way he kind of dived. It's not like he exaggerated the dive. It was just a natural reflex, and it was just a beautiful save. I looked at it, I was like, whoa. I was so gassed. It was like one of the best saves I've ever seen in my life. It obviously isn't, but it was such an underrated save, especially in real time. It was beautiful. So yes, Zidane is the best player of all time. His Juventus days on record base and France days. His Real Madrid days, he was in and out with the team, managerial issues, a new kind of let's say a new kind of approach in with dealing with player relations and talent in terms of the Galactico era, new ownership, management that did not really play to his strengths. You had Carlos Queiroz. Del Bosque was very good, obviously. Obviously he got sacked the day after he won the Champions League, which was ironic because he didn't win the La Liga, similar to the Carlo Ancelotti situation as well. But yeah, I think he got the best out of him. Kind of followed another Lippi-esque, them to a very, very pragmatic, know how to manage players, not imposing or tactically dogmatic or assertive. But then you had Carlos Queiroz, and then you had Roger Luxemburgo. I remember it was just a mess at that time. Just Real Madrid were just in a massive decline, and Valencia took over them in terms of second place best team, although they won the league a couple back to back in 03, 04, 04, 05. No, yeah, 02, 03, 03, 04. Back to back. Barcelona started to come into the fore with Rijkaard coming in and Ronaldinho taking charge really on the pitch. And Ronaldinho was another exceptional player. I think he's probably perhaps the second best player of all time. I mean, I can give you the top three on the top of my head. It's Zidane, Ronaldinho, and Ronaldo. Ronaldo, as they would say in Brazil. Ronaldinho. But yeah, exceptional talents. So yeah, that's the first question, 10 minutes long. I mean, I could speak all day about him, and we can go into even a game by game, case by case analysis if you like. But yes, Zidane is the best player of all time that I've seen. Just unrivaled talents, really. Shame he didn't play for Algeria. I think that's another thing, another stick to beat him with. Next question is about Van Dijk. Van Dijk, the best centre back in the world? Yes. And without going too long into this, I don't, because obviously he supports that team, that won that league in that season. Yeah. Best centre back in the world? Yes. Versatile, good on his feet, as equally as good on his, he is as good with his feet as he is with his head. Excellent position. Rarely you see him caught out of position. Rarely you see him beaten by unrushing menacing forwards. He's just a talent. He's just a talent, isn't he? I mean, we try to do the same and emulate, but with slabhead Harry Maguire, but the guy is always caught out of position. And Van Dijk, even if he is caught out of position, his scale and his presence, I mean, it could literally cover grounds. It could cover perhaps not even just Anfield, or perhaps cover Goodison Park. That's how much of a imposing and pervasive talent he is. So yeah, Van Dijk, best centre-back in the world, yes. There's also, I'll give some honourable mentions. Koulibaly has had a better season than last season. I would also say De Vrij has really cemented his place. He had an off season last season, and then he was very good in his first season, where obviously scored the winning goal against Lazio to get Inter Milan qualified in under Spalletti's first season. Second season he was a bit off the radar, just uncharacteristic errors and loss of form and injury. Skriniar was then kind of the main man. Now this season, because under Conte, ball under your feet, swift counter attacks. Playing from the back, he's been very impressive, and he's also shown that he's very good with the ball on his feet as well. Nice insight, nice passes straight into the midfield, cutting through the midfield actually at times. Inter Milan under Conte don't go through the high ball as you have in Liverpool. Van Dijk can do the high ball. Alderweireld will do the high ball. Robertson and Alexander-Arnold will do that. Inter Milan, they do try to keep the ball on ball on grass, as Brian Clough says. They're not meant to be played in the clouds, they're meant to be played on grass. They do that a lot, Inter Milan. So Conte does like that. You see that from Handanovic as well, who always is demanded and instructed by Conte to play short passes to the wide, to the fullbacks or to the midfield. Yeah, that's how it is with Conte. So yes, those are the honourable mentions. I might think of another player on the top of my mind. Can't think of another one. No. Sergio Ramos has had a good season. He scored 11 goals. I mean, that's impressive. And he's been a lot more solid defensively. And he's in great shape as well. I hate to say that, but yes, he's in good shape as well. I would say any from Atletico Madrid. No, it's a change. It's a makeshift defense. There's kind of a new defensive line there with the departure of Godin, with the injuries of Jimenez. If we got Hermoso there, so yeah, I'm not sure. So those that come to my mind. You could say De Ligt has had a very good second half to the season as well. He's scored a beautiful goal over the weekend against Udinese. So yeah, he comes to mind as well. But yeah, still big shoes to fill in because of Chiellini, and him being recently injured has kind of fast-tracked him to the first team a lot more, where there's some sort of, there's not that chemistry with Bonucci's not there. Bonucci seems to be a bit more error-prone, and De Ligt seems to be a bit uncomfortable with adapting to the team. It's taken him longer than expected, but he's come back to good form in recent months, or weeks rather. Next question was about next season's gonna bang. Yes, next season is gonna bang, because you know why? I'm gonna keep this very simple. Greenwood's gonna turn up. He's gonna score 21 goals in 2K21 to hand United their 21st Premier League title. That's why the season's gonna bang in less than 50 days, I believe. So, yeah, I can't wait for that. The Yorkshire Ronaldo, United's Ronaldo, he's an absolute love heart. Wow, what a talent he is. So next question. Yeah, I got asked a really nice question actually from a good friend of mine, from a dear friend of mine, who supports that team, I must say. So I think, if you know who he is, he supports that team. He's that guy who supports that team. I don't want to get demonetized, so I will not mention that team's name. But yeah, he asked me a good question actually, because the previous week someone asked me my favorite starting 11, and I think that led to a lot of discussions on my Instagram DMs about why is this player there, why are you playing this tactic. So I'm gonna go. So it kind of begged the question, and because I was going all Inter Milan a couple of days ago, my friend, very cleverly and very intuitively put 2 and 2 together and said, okay, best starting 11 of all time for Inter Milan. And here it goes. It's a 5-3-2 formation, because obviously that's the formation that Inter Milan are known to play with historically under Elenio Herrera, to Luigi Simone, to Osvaldo Bagnoli, Luigi Simone, Roy Hodgson even played it. So it's a system it's been played throughout Inter Milan's history, and actually became a 4-3-3 since 2001. So under Mancini, Mourinho, and then 4-2-3-1 under Spalletti, and then a 3-4-1-2 currently under Conte. But 5-3-2 is the most kind of familiar formation. If you look at among historians about on Inter Milan formations that they've used over time, most prevalently and it's a time-honored tradition rather now, that the 5-3-2 is kind of synonymous to Inter Milan's play. So in 5-3-2, we have in goal Handanovic. Because Handanovic, why Handanovic? A lot of people say, oh, what about Walter Zenga? What about Pagliuca? I didn't see them play. I was born in 96. Zenga left in 94. Pagliuca left in 99. He was there from 94 to 99, replacing Zenga. I wasn't there. I didn't really watch much of him, to be honest. And I started to watch Italian football in 2000s, 2001, 2002, really. The final days, basically, of football Italian. Yeah, so I watched a lot of Toldo, who was in goal from 2001 to 2007, and then it was Julio Cesar, and then Handanovic ever since. And out of those three, by far Handanovic is the best goalkeeper that we've had. I think he's the best player that we still have in this team, and he's 36. I think Brozovic as well is a brilliant player, and Sensi had he not been injured. But Handanovic, why? He's got excellent reflexes. He's very simple, very industrious. Does not do this over-exaggerated dives, running around and then jumping. He's got excellent position. Always, you will not see him caught out position. Excellent reflexes, very reliable. You're not going to see him make errors like De Gea. Brilliant shot stopper. Excellent handling of crosses, which Toldo, even though he was 1 meter 96 basically, could not do. Had poor handling, Toldo. And ironically or paradoxically has the best, I think, I've ever seen in a goalkeeper in terms of diving to his bottom left and bottom right, with such proficiency for a very tall goalkeeper. I mean, we complain about De Gea not being able to dive to his left and diving backwards in terms of his starting position. We have Joe Hart not being able to dive to their left. And they're more agile goalkeepers who are like 180, 185, 190. This guy's 196. His main strength should be just catching the ball, Toldo, which he doesn't, which he lacks. He's not really best at catching. But he's got amazing speed to go down, to drop down. It's amazing. Some of the saves, especially in his Fiorentina days, exceptional. And most of his penalty saves were at his bottom left as well, which is quite remarkable. So you got Sami Handanovic. Speaking of him, because I just want to give some credit to Francesco Toldo. Sami Handanovic for me is the most complete goalkeeper. That is not Alisson, and that is not Edison, and that is not Oblak in my eyes. Very reliable at his age of 36. Exceptional. Can die. Got brilliant diving, brilliant handling, brilliant reflexes, and is a fantastic penalty stopper as well. I think he's got the best record in Serie A in terms of appearances, or rather, penalty saved to penalty ratio. I think he's got the best record. I think it was before his Pagliuca, who was also known to be a good penalty stopper. But Handanovic penalty stopping abilities is nothing short of, but it's nothing but exceptional. It's just wow. I think such a consistent shot stop. I mean, Buffon was his biggest weakness, penalties. Casillas was his biggest penalties. I mean, big goalkeeper, one of the best goalkeepers of all time, really. Them two, undisputedly so, I would say. Biggest weaknesses, besides other technical things, is penalty stopping, and Handanovic has got that in spades. Very reliable on this in his line. He is a very defensive goalkeeper, so he does like to stay out of his line. I mean, that was his biggest kind of weakness. That was his main weakness, was he doesn't like to come out a lot, and he will only come out for crosses. He doesn't like to come out for 1v1s. He's not very comfortable with that. That's because he's not got the best kind of legs, if you like, or the feet, in terms of positioning and movement forwards, I must say. On the line, horizontally, fantastic. On the out, you know, when you draw him out, he was kind of a suspect. So Handanovic, which he's improved, I must say, give credit to Conte, he's improved Handanovic's ball distribution and ball at feet kind of dexterity, if you like, or capabilities. He's very good now, I must say. I mean, sometimes I get a bit nervous when I see, you know, they pass it back to the keeper to pass it back to Handanovic, and he's like always caught under pressure, but he just effortlessly just passes it right in front of them at times. I mean, it's tantalizingly close. I mean, it does. It's a nail-biting stuff, but the ball comes to him, and there's like 3 or 2 onrushing attackers coming to him, pressing him, and he just calm. He won't even move. He'll just pass it straight away, or hoof it, or whatever. He's very calm. He's such a composed goalkeeper, and he's an excellent leader as well. I mean, one of the privileges of, you know, this pandemic and its kind of extensions, if you like, or its manifestations through policy in terms of lockdown and stadium and fan bans and etc., is that you get to hear Handanovic a lot, and bloody hell, he's loud, very loud. I mean, you can speak for the whole Giuseppe Meazza, the whole San Siro, if you like, if you're an AC Milan fan. So I think he's absolutely remarkable. Anyway, enough of him. The back three is very simple for me. You got Bergomi, he's a legend, basically, perhaps one of the greatest stalwarts in Inter Milan history. I mean, he's just an absolute veteran. He's just stayed there from the early 80s to the late 90s. Fantastic player, true leader as well. A lot of my players are going to be captain based, actually, I must say, which says a lot. Very vocal players. Anyway, we've got Giuseppe Bergomi, who's just fantastic. I mean, Il Tio, I mean, the uncle, or Il Zio if you're Italian. I mean, he's the uncle, basically, because of his mustache and because of his his maturity at such a young age. Came into the team at like 18, and he's like the man is more of a caretaker, which I'll talk about in later at the end, than me. He is so mature, so responsible, so developed, so refined at such a young age, able to take a lot of responsibilities and handle a lot of pressure. He's that kind of guy. What is he well known for? His man marking abilities. That's his biggest strength. He will man mark you very tight into a pretzel, basically. He'll make you a pretzel, basically. He will be so close to you, touch tight. You'll not be able to beat him in the offside trap. You'll not be able to you'll not be able to go onside. You're not going to be able to beat him in corners. He is just a man marking legend. The best man marker? I think so, yeah. I can't think of... Yeah, because everyone now plays mostly, zona mista, zonal now. Man marking is kind of a dying form now, about spaces and that. Thanks, Guardiola. Bergomi is a man marking legend. Yeah, you'd say Bruce as well is an excellent man marker, touch tight. I mean, that guy can tackle as well.